As we continue in the purpose of polygyny, one must understand the importance of polygyny. Let's get the next precept. Let's go to Psalms 92 and verses 12, where it says, straight to the point, it says what? The righteous, who is the righteous? Yasharallah, Israel. The righteous shall, more so in proper terms, the elect of Israel. Let's continue. The righteous shall flourish like a palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Those that be planted in the house of Yahweh shall flourish in the courts of our power. They shall still bring forth fruit in the old age. They shall be fat and flourishing, and to show that Yahweh is upright. What? To show that Yahweh is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in him. Straight up. So they explained multiplication in a vast sense, a fast sense, which can only be done through polygyny, unless you want to say a woman is going to make 7 children automatically, biggest belly in the world, and bring forth 7 children. Okay, if you want to say that, no problem. But we know how Israel get around having multiple seeds, spreading like wildfire, even today. And it's through what? Polygyny. Let me get a precept. Because when you watch the situation, it had men like Ziba and a few others, I forget the name, boy, had 15 sons. Now one would think, if you use the maths, if you do your maths, 15 sons. Is it possible for a woman in this lifetime to have 15 sons? You would have to have triple twins first, or quadruple twins first, and then the rest come on 1-1, which carries you down to the age of 90, which is impossible, because at the age of 45 to 50, menopausal state begins to strike heavy. They're going to have things like complications, and it could even lead to loss of life for continuation of having these children at back to back. As we know, it causes a strain on the body. So think about it. If this person, again, the individual itself, the wife of that individual, is it possible? Would it be possible in this day and age to have 15 sons? No. They would have to have an influence of another 1 or 2 additional women being in the household. Alright? And if you notice, there wasn't any mention of Ziba's wife or wives, and we know why. Because the influence would have had multiple wives to bring forth all these children, and many of them being on similar, I think similar ages, I believe, but grown up basically. So it shows that if you do your maths, you would know that there's an influence of more than one female counterpart in his family that assisted in bringing forth these children that he had at that time. Right? This is the exact same way it's going to be used in the time of multiplication of Israel's seed through multiple wives. Okay? That's the purpose of polygyny. Now you understand the importance. And if you notice, the scripture screams of us being fruitful and multiplying, and if God is going to bless us by multiplying us even more. In order for that to happen even more, we will have more wives. Hence the purpose, Isaiah 4:1. Let me get a precept immediately before you continue. Let me get a precept, Isaiah chapter 4 and verses 1. It says, "And in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, We will eat our own bread, wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away thy reproach." Thy reproach goes back into the word judgment. So to prevent them from that judgment, they are going to what? insists that they get our names. In order for them to get our names, then we would have to be married unto them. In order for we to be married unto them, we would have to have intercourse unto them. That's how we'll be married unto them. Because sex, according to the scriptures, as we know, is marriage. Now you understand? So the scripture doesn't just shows polygyny, it promotes it, even in prophecy. And this prophecy is going to happen now. Not now, in this time. Not before the kingdom. Listen to what it says. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread, wear our own apparels, only let us be called by thy name. They take away that reproach. They are will want people to shield them from that judgment, so that they could be in the proper household environment to prevent that judgment from coming to pass. That would be in this time, not any time where there's no more transgression, where we'll not be sinning anymore. This is now, this is coming soon. This is prophecy. Whether you accept it, whether you believe it or you not. So, polygyny is important. The purpose of polygyny, mainly, aside from enjoying your wives, is to being fruitful and multiply exponentially. We get the next precept, Isaiah 60, where it says, I think one shall, I don't butcher it. 21 and 22, straight to the point, it says, thy people also shall be all righteous. We know who that is dealing with. Not these heathens, because scripture says, let fear be shown to the wicked, yet will he not learn righteousness. It's not referring to these heathens. We know that. Thy people also shall be righteous. They shall inherit the land forever, the branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. See? It says, here's the point, the conclusion of the whole matter dealing with polygyny. A little one shall become 1,000, and a small nation, and a small one a strong nation, Salak. It says, I, Yahweh, will hasten it in his time. How is he going to hasten it in his time? One of the influences of hastening it is multiple wives. Now you understand. Now you catch it. Now you understand why the kings used to have many children back then. When you look at them, they used to identifiably have multiple wives. Now you understand, or are you still in disbelief? Because the scriptures is being very clear, very verbatim. Look into it yourself as well if you have to dig in to see. And see if I'm saying anything wrong, if it's coincident with what we are reading here today. It's simple. Let us keep going. We ain't done. We ain't stopping. Let's get another precept. Ezekiel 37. Back into Ezekiel again. 37. Verse 24. 28. And it says, and David my servant shall be king over them, and they shall have one shepherd, and I said they shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they and their children and their children's children and their children's children forever. My servant David shall be their prince forever. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them and multiply them. And one more time, I will place them and multiply them, and will set will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. See that? What he's going to do? It's part of the covenant to what? Multiply them. See? So this multiplying, being fruitful and multiply, is going to take place yet again in the kingdom of heaven, which is on the earth, which we know in order to multiply or bring forth seed on the earth, there's only one way. And we could read it to show you before I continue in this precept. Because this is our purpose of learning, right? Let's learn. I myself, Wisdom of Solomon chapter 7 verse 1. I myself am a mortal man like to all, and the offspring of him that was first made of the earth, and in my mother's womb was fashioned to be fleshed in the time of 10 months, being compacted with blood of the seed of man, and the pleasure that came with sleep. And when I was born, I drew in common air, and fell upon the earth, which is of like nature, and the first voice which I uttered was crying, as all others do. So it identifies the child being born, as they come out of the earth, and a little pain or affliction take place, they are crying. It's usually, normally you would see in movies, you see daughter patting the baby's bottom to make them cry, basically, which we know usually don't happen in real life. Okay, if it does, anyways, I was nursed in swaddling clothes, and that with cares. It says, for there is no king that had any other beginning of birth, which also cuts that foolish immaculate conception doctrine. It even identifies that all men have one entrance into life. All men, which is what? The terrestrial plane. The terrestrial plane dealing with what? Humans. Fleshly beings, which are men. Right? All men have one entrance into life. And the like going out. Again, proving the foolishness of immaculate conception, also showing that in order for procreation to take place on the earth, one must sow his seed into a woman. And in order for multiplication in a fast sense, as mentioned, to take place, one must practice polygyny, having more than one wife. So it comes back down to just that. Let's go back into Ezekiel 37. We're continuing from verses 26, I believe. No, 27, it says, my tabernacle also shall be with them, yea, I will be their power, and they shall be my people, and the heathen shall know that I am Yahweh. I, Yahweh, do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. So you see what it says? You're going to ensure to multiply us forevermore. It's part of the everlasting covenant that he formed with us, to multiply our seed, to bring us back into the land, and we receive the salvation, we get the glorified bodies, and so on and so forth. The salvation aspect is part of the covenant. So you understand that, right? Let's get another precept. Let's go into Jeremiah. Is it Jeremiah that I wanted? Is it no, I think it's, I believe it's Isaiah. But let me go in Jeremiah first. I say Jeremiah first. Let me go in Jeremiah first. Correct, right there. Jeremiah, I think it's 20 is the right one, but let's go Jeremiah first. And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all the countries whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful, and what? Increase. And what? Increase. That's the purpose of polygyny. To increase, to multiply exceedingly. They are going to increase. Let me get another precept. Now we're going to Isaiah 49. I think you all know I'm going to from this. And verse 21, it says, make sure that is the right one. Then the right one. The one I'm looking for is referring to There it is. I think I get in my head, Isaiah 27. All right. Isaiah 27 and verses, let me see. All right. Look right here. It says, Isaiah 27 and verses 6, it says, He shall cause them that come of Jacob to take root. Israel shall blossom and bud and fill the face of the world with fruit. Do you think it's actually referring to fruit or is it referring to offspring? Make it make sense at this point. How is that going to take place? Through seed. Through what? Through polygyny. That's one of the purpose of bringing us back quickly or exponentially through polygyny. And what is polygyny again? Let's go back into it. Right here, let me read it. The purpose of polygyny. The purpose of polygyny is to multiply exceedingly. Yes, that consists with both scriptures and natural design. Power gave humanity. Let's break it down carefully. Biblical example of polygyny for multiplication is Abraham, which we called, Jacob, which we called, David, which we called, Solomon and Saul, and eight have more. Right? We know that. With the precept being brought out here. These patriarchs had multiple wives and concubines, and power blessed them with many children. Genesis 16:12 and 2 to 4 deal with Abraham and as we continue, we went through the story already, so we gotta go through it again. Purpose highlighted in Genesis, which is God's commands humanity to be fruitful and to multiply, which we went to as well. Polygyny was a practical way to increase descendants quickly in covenant households. Did we not say that? Did we not say that? Like, come on. At this point, stating anything different will means you lying to yourself. Practicing reason. In ancient times, mortality rates were high and population growth was essential. Multiple wives ensured continuity of lineage and tribal strength. For the Israelites who were called to preserve the covenant line, this method was consistent with Power's plan to multiply his people. That's all you have to understand. Which is why in the kingdom, to hasten the multiplication, you would need to have multiple wives. It's that simple. Hence the purpose of polygyny. Scriptural conditions and limits. Polygyny is never commanded for every believer, but it is allowed. See that? If you want to, it is not a transgression, you can. But these are the criteria that are met to do so. You have to ensure that you can take care of that individual and satisfy her needs, or vice versa, right? And if you fail to do so, then she would no longer have to be able to dwell with you. It's simple. As it continues, Power emphasizes responsibilities, fairness, which we just said that, and provisions, which mentioned in Exodus 21:10, Deuteronomy 21 verse 15 to 17. Abuse, neglect, or favoritism is condemned. See that? Kingdom perspective. You are correct. In a future covenant or kingdom context, if resources and provisions allow, polygyny could serve the original divine purpose of multiplying the seed of Israel. And are we not going to be ruling on top, having everything in our grasp yet again, all resources, and these nations being servitude unto us? So yes, the purpose, yes, the resources and provisions are going to be so precise and correct that if we want to have 1,000 wives, we can. Just showing you something. And I mean that for the rest of our lifetime, we could, if we want to, in the kingdom of heaven, which is on the earth. So summary, polygyny is a biblically validated as a means to increase offspring and preserve the covenant line, not just a social custom. Its purpose is reproduction, lineage, continuity, and fulfillment of power's command to multiply exceedingly. You see how we add the cherry on top of the cake? So sweet that it overshadows all of the cake itself. See? Let me see if I get one more precept if I can't find it close down. I think I have one in mind. I don't look for what it I don't can't remember the precept itself, but I know what it was saying. So I go and check Google. I couldn't find it, but you get the point regardless. So now we understand that. Now let's go into what polygyny means again. Polygyny, wow, G-Y-N-Y, meaning or full definition. And we could directly mention here, polygyny, origin of the word from the Greek poly, many, poly meaning many, and gyne meaning woman or wife. Definition, a form of marriage in which a man has more than one wife simultaneously. Distinction, polygyny, one man, multiple women, multiple wives, polyandry, one woman, multiple husbands, and polygamy, which is general term for multiple spouses, including both polygyny and polyandry. But the reason we had to break that down is because what we context of the scriptures is dealing with, what we're dealing with is polygyny, Polygyny, not Gamy, not Andry, polygyny. All right. So going to biblical text, polygyny was permitted and practiced by many biblical patriarchs and kings, mentioned as before again. It says primarily for the purpose of multiplying descendants and preserving the covenant, as mentioned. Not every Israelite was required to practice it. The key biblical principle is responsible provision, fairness, and obedience to power. Right? Mentioned. Purpose in scriptures, we have that there. With prefer multiply, as we know, provision, preservation of covenant, line and tribal and family continuity, practical, social, and economic reasons in ancient times, high mortality, ensuring a simple. So I hope this lesson and information being brought forth to you all was very edifying. I say Shalom Yasharala, Kal Halalia Yahawa, Bahasham Yawashai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. We give double honors to the apostles and prophets and elders of James Camp, but as great minister for before the 100% truth that I've been currently edified under. Shalom to the elect, the tabernacle of David, and Aaron Bright as I saying to you, Shalom.